All right, welcome back. This is going to be the weekly recap for the week ending on November 26th, 2021. It was a short week due to Thanksgiving holiday. And one of the things we're going to be talking about in this recap is I want to talk about the one secret to helping you become a successful trader. And most people don't do this, but we're going to talk about that. I think if you do nothing else, if you just try this, I think you're going to have a lot more success in your trading, no matter what kind of strategy you are using. So anyway, that is what we're going to discuss. But first, let's get into the weekly stats. All right, so here we are once again. We're going to be looking at the PAP setup. This is one of 5 different setups that I teach you. These are all based on behavioral patterns. If you've been in our live webinar, or you've watched my fundamental trading video, we talk a little bit about this, but nonetheless, let's look at the PAP stats, okay? Once again, this week and this coming week, we will be focusing strictly on the USD Japanese yen, all right? So that's all I traded for the week. Only had really, 3 days where I traded? 1, 2, 3, 3 days I traded. Didn't trade Wednesday. Wednesday is typically an off day for me anyway. And Thursday and Friday, I don't keep stats as well. I will take the first trade of the day, but I don't keep track of any kind of stats. All right. So looking at our stats, you can see on the US yen right where we would expect it to be, 75 to 80%. That is what we found to be, our historical average, somewhere in the 75 to 80%. Okay, and this is over thousands and thousands. Since I started this chat room, we've already recorded over 15,000 occurrences of this particular pattern, and over that 15,000, it's sitting at 76%, so which is just phenomenal. So these patterns are strong, and that does hold up across the board, depending on not depend on, but any of the pairs that you're trading. Okay, so very, very good stats. All right. So that being said, first trade of the day. Once again, this is the very first trade that I personally make in the morning. Your first trade may come in earlier than mine. It may come a little bit later than mine. It doesn't matter as long as you are consistent about the time that you put it on. So if you put it on at 7 a.m., stay consistent with that. If you put it on at 8 a.m. like I am, stay consistent with that. Okay. So that being said, didn't have a whole lot of days in the week, so on the morning trades, I was right 2 out of 3, and of course on the evenings, it was only 50-50, so obviously very weak. Who knows what would have happened if we had a couple more days to trade, but that is where the stats lie. So I would have thought that the US yen would be coming back, but we just didn't have enough time. And then the other thing to consider is that when we are moving into a holiday like we did for Thanksgiving, that week can get a little shaky because you don't necessarily have a lot of traders in the market. They do take out early on these holidays. So instead of Thursday, with Thursday being Thanksgiving, some will take the whole week off. Some will take off Wednesday and through the rest of the week. So it's always an iffy week, but nonetheless, I do trade through this week because you can still have some really good setups. But as far as the naked stats are concerned, this is where the PAP stats. Once again, PAP is just one of 5 different patterns that we track. And of course, I obviously was just trading the US yen this week. All right, so on my CB trades, once again, my CB trades, now keep in mind, folks, I have been a trader for 40 years. The CB method is a little bit more subjective, but it is very powerful. I like it. I do trade it quite a bit. And you can use this in conjunction with the core strategy. But I wasn't pressing very hard. And also keep in mind, like I said, I've been trading for a long time. So these are not typical results. Some may do better, some may not do as well. Trading is something that you have to put effort into, okay? So I don't want you to think that you buy my program or any program out there that you're going to be successful. One thing I can tell you about my program is it is different. It doesn't use indicators. It doesn't use traditional chart patterns. I have my own unique patterns, and over the last 30 years, they have held up and continued to be consistent in terms of the win and loss probabilities. Okay, so I know coming into it, I'm always going to have an advantage. The odds are in my favor, right? So that being said, these results are not typical, but then again, there are some that do much better than I do. So it really depends on how aggressive you are and, of course, how long you've been trading and so forth. So nonetheless, this is where I ended up for the week. Didn't trade any on Thursday, didn't trade any on Friday. All right, but still not a bad week overall, considering we were pre-holiday, so you never know going in pre-holiday how the results are going to be, but this is where we are. Okay, so let's talk about what is the one secret to helping you become a successful trader. And some of you may know this, some of you may not, and I see it over and over again. And one thing to becoming a successful trader is, it doesn't matter if you're trading commodities, you're trading forex, you're trading binaries like I do, stick with just one instrument, okay, or one pair. So for me, if it's going to be either in the US yen or it's going to be the Euro US, you don't need to trade more than one pair. You find a pair that you like, all right? And I have my preferences. It's usually the Aussie, the Euro, or the Yen. But stick with just that one pair, okay? Because each one of these has their own unique personality. And it's important to know that, because when you're trading and US yen is acting like it normally does, all right, you can really take advantage of it because you know how it moves. If you get into a condition where the US yen is acting very erratic, you know it's not holding its follow-throughs, it's not acting like it normally does, then you pull aside and you wait for the conditions to improve. What's interesting about that is that once it goes into a phase of coming out of a condition that was very erratic, it will stay that way for a while. So it stays normal for a while, okay, at least 70-75% of the time. So when it gets erratic, you step aside, and that usually doesn't last very long. But once things start to improve, then you jump back into that market, okay? You got to understand the pair that you're trading. But once again, as I've shown, and why I'm only trading one pair a week now, is to get my students to understand that you don't need to be trading more than one pair. And that's why I see a lot of people running into issues. And it was also true when I was trading commodities. Most of your successful traders that trade commodities stick with just one commodity, like the ES, the small mini, or they may trade crude oil, or they may trade treasury bonds, all right? And they do it every day. They're not jumping around trading everything else. They have one, okay, commodity that they trade, and they get to know its personality, and they have a setup that works, and they just keep playing it over and over and over again, all right? And that's the way that you do it. Also, when you start to trade more than one, it's so easy to lose focus, all right? It's so easy to lose focus, and you can really get yourself in a big hole, and you don't need that, all right? And the other thing is, you don't need to be making a bunch of trades every day, all right? These patterns, on average, only have 2 setups per hour. So on the US yen, I'm only going to have 2 setups, maybe 3 at the most, on an hourly basis. So it's not like I'm constantly trading. Even though it's a 5-minute binary, I'm only taking 2 or 3 trades an hour. And that's what you want, okay? That's the way you want to trade. You don't want to be in and out of the market. That's what chews people up, all right? So what's the one secret to becoming a successful trader? Find a pair, whether it be a commodity, whether it be outright forex, or you're trading a binary. Find one like the US yen or the Euro US, any of those, and then focus on that and just trade that. And I'm confident that your success rate will start to go up, and you'll start to see a lot more green in your account than red. All right. That being said, we had a good week. I'm looking forward to coming out of this Thanksgiving holiday. Should have a really big week this week, all right? We usually do right after Thanksgiving, so I'm probably going to press a little bit harder going into maybe Sunday evening, going into Monday. So I think it's going to be a good week. So hopefully everybody can take advantage of that volatility. Once again, if you have any questions, please go to binaryprostrategies.com and shoot me your questions. Also, make sure I'm still doing the live webinars. There's a lot of really cool information in there that you've never heard before. So sign up for my free live webinar. There's a few dates available. Go to binaryprostrategies.com. There'll be a little pop-up. Just go ahead and register for that. And please join me in the live webinar. It's going to be, I think you're going to enjoy what you see. Plus, I will be providing a free pattern for those that stick around, so you don't want to miss that. Okay, hope everybody has a nice weekend, and we will see you all next week for our next weekly recap. Y'all take care.